Hey guys, what's up? It's Schla. And today I'm coming back with another episode to y'all of Car Rides with Schla. And I got a lot to talk about now. This morning was horrible, it was horrendous. But now I got plenty to blab about. So I had been planning for a while to get this merino wool fabric. And I had done a lot of research into it to try to find the cheapest source of organic merino wool, fairly difficult to find. But I had settled on it. It's been a decision in my head for a while. I've been thinking it over, and I finally decided I was going to buy it, even though it's fairly expensive. So I ordered the special detergent that it needs, and then I went to buy the merino wool stuff. And I had this whole plan set up where I was going to get the PayPal credit card that had a $50 sign-on bonus. And if you use PayPal to check out with things, you get 3% cash back, which I thought was great. I have a bunch of cards because I like to have a bunch to optimize for specific things. Some things food, some things gas. You can do that if you want. Now, you could argue it gets complicated, it gets annoying. I don't really care. I like it. I like having multiple different cards to optimize all the different variants in rewards and whatnot. That's just what I like to do. And so I was deciding, this PayPal one is a no-brainer to add to my arsenal because everywhere accepts PayPal. And it's a 3% cash back flat rate, which is almost unheard of. That's very difficult to achieve otherwise. So definitely a worthy thing to add to my arsenal. And I had been thinking of this, and I had it all planned out. I got the card. I wasn't sure if I was going to go through with it or not yet. But then I finally was going to go through with it, and I get to their checkout, and they don't accept PayPal. And I'm losing my mind because why? It doesn't make any sense. Every other U.S. clothing store that I've seen does accept PayPal. I feel like every website that you shop at accepts PayPal. Why does this one not? It makes no sense. How would I have even known? How would I have even thought or considered checking that? I just assumed, because I assumed in a very logical and rational way that it would be there. And so I try to research further. Look, do I need to make an account on the website? Why is PayPal not showing up at the checkout? And apparently in Europe, they do offer PayPal. In the UK and the European version of the website. But it's only the American, if you're buying in America, they don't offer PayPal, which makes no sense to me. I don't know how it works, but PayPal is an American company, so I don't know why the fees would be higher within America. I guess that doesn't really matter, but I'm losing my mind. I had this whole plan in my head, and there is literally no reason why it's not working and why it's not materializing right now. It's just another example of totally disorganized different companies' policies and whatnot. And it's just a common thing that I complain about. How everything should basically be standardized and you shouldn't have this confusion. I should not have to even consider that a site is not going to use PayPal. It just shouldn't. It shouldn't be the case. And if they don't accept PayPal, I think that should be very clear. I think it should be very clear because of just how much of a common thing PayPal is. I'm really losing my mind over it, guys. And I have a couple of options. I mean, I obviously could just spend on a different card, but then I might have gotten a different credit card in that case, because there's another card I could have got. You see what I'm saying? And you know what? It's not the first time this has happened where I feel like I'm a really thorough person with things, and I really try, but it's still never enough. Like, there's still just this little thing that makes no sense that always catches me. Always. Without I do not understand why I get put through this. There's always something that just kind of doesn't make any sense, shouldn't be the case, and it just hits me like last second after I've already made a decision and already calculated. This is where I get caught up with things, because I rationalize things very well. I think very logically, and it causes me to misassume and misinterpret things, because then oftentimes the world is not like that. The world doesn't make sense, and a lot of things happen in the world that, like, you think there'd be no chance. You would think there would be no chance something this strange would happen, because I'm just used to trying to think of things logically and think of things making sense. And the world always manages to let me down and confuse me. You know? So I mean, I have two options, really. Three options. So first option is I just cancel the order for the detergent, which I obviously feel bad about doing. I don't like to do that kind of stuff. I think it's not good. You know, it's bothersome to the business. It's a whole hassle. I don't like returning things. I don't like canceling orders. I'm not into that. You know, even though I probably could do that, I could probably cancel the detergent and in my rage just forget about this whole expensive wool project that I'm working on. I could do that. That's an option. Second option is just pay with my card and only get the 2% cash back instead of the 3%. And also miss out on that first purchase $50 back thing. But that's the thing that bothers me. It's because I really wanted that for this, and there's not really anything else I can think of that I would be using PayPal for to buy something. You know, like, it was such a very specific thing. Now, I'm not at a total loss because YouTube Premium uses PayPal. So, and I have that, so I don't know. It makes sense. Like, I'm going to get use out of the PayPal card either way. It's not really a big deal. I'm assuming that's actually because I don't know. I don't know if this is just me being stupid, but for some reason I didn't even want to use PayPal to pay for my Google Premium, YouTube Premium. I didn't want to use PayPal ever, but from my recollection, like, it only let me use PayPal. I couldn't even there was nowhere to put a card. It was just PayPal, which is very weird, obviously, but that was just what I encountered. Now, I don't know if they changed that or if, again, I was just being stupid. Very possible. So I'll definitely get use out of this PayPal card. It's not like I won't. It's just that I don't like how I'm doing something that should work and should make sense, and then just because of some random company's stupid arbitrary policy, now my whole plan is ruined. And you know, this is the thing about the world, is people don't understand, and I don't understand the world, and the world doesn't understand me, because most people, they don't care about this kind of stuff because they never even think about it. They never even think about it anyway, so they never care. Nobody really has these elaborate plans. Like, most people, it's just, oh, I want to buy clothes because it looks a certain way. Oh, this website doesn't support PayPal, I'll just do something else, who cares? You see what I'm saying? No, I really get hung up over it because it shouldn't work like that. Things should be so much more standardized. It makes no sense to not have things standardized. I've ranted about this before. If not, I'm ranting about it now. I think sizing should be standardized. When I go out to get ice cream, small, medium, large should be very specific sizes. There should be regulation for different things, and for drinks. For drinks, it's small, medium, large should just be very specific sizes. So wherever you go, you know exactly what you're getting. I think it's more of an issue with ice cream, though, because there tends to be a lot of variation. Some places base it off of scoops, but even scoops doesn't really make sense because technically each scoop could have a slightly different size. It's just frustrating because the world is not interested in me at all, and I'm not interested in the way this world works, the chaos, the lack of reason, and all that stuff. It just bothers me, and it's not right. And I'm always put through these trials. And the moral of the story is always, I just have to be even more scrutinizing, and I can never expect that things will make sense. I always have to remember when I'm dealing with a company, there's some idiot running it who isn't me, and I need to be very aware of that. That's always this new thing. That's just what I have to know. And I always have to be aware of that. I have to be very conscious of it. Always, no matter what. There's going to be some idiot who just ruins my day. I didn't even go through the rest of the options. Yeah, so option number 2 is just pay with my card, get the 2% instead of the 3%, which most people wouldn't even care about. And then option 3 is try to find another website that sells organic merino wool, which I don't know if that's really going to happen. I guess I could try, but it's a bit of a niche thing, I suppose, and it's expensive, but the site I was getting it from was a pretty good deal for what it is. So I don't know if I'd really be able to find it cheaper elsewhere, in all honesty. I don't know. I'm just at such a loss, I'm really at a loss right now. So I'm going to figure it out tomorrow. I'm going to try to just forget about it for tonight. Although it's going to be insistently there. It's going to be insistently there in my mind. Because I just can't let go of stuff. Like, once I'm aware of something, I want it fixed. I want it fixed quick. And, a lot of times, though, that's just not how it works. So I've been through a lot of these situations recently. And that's what I'm doing. I'm choosing to just wait until tomorrow. Because I have to learn that this is the types of things that the world deals out at you. And I just need to be sharper. It's at the end of the day, it's my fault. I should have never assumed that the website took PayPal, and it is my fault, But while it's my fault, it's also whoever managed that, shouldn't have done it that way. And then if it is because PayPal's fees are higher for some reason in America or something, then that's PayPal's fault for being stupid. You see what I'm saying? It is other people's fault, but I will take accountability for that. I should have been more educated. But I'm not going to take accountability for that I'm wrong, because I'm not wrong. There should be much more standardized payment processing. It should not be like this. So I'm not wrong. The other people are wrong. But even though I'm not wrong, I'm still going to accept full accountability for the situation, because this situation is completely my fault. Like, I could have had this rage, but this rage should have been before even getting the PayPal card, and then none of this would have really happened. You see what I mean? So it depends. Now I guess I have to look for something to buy. Of course, it's going to be all God's design or something like that. That's always how it works. And so I guess there's really not a reason to complain about things, but I just wanted to air it out. I really wanted to air out my grievances. But in the future, yeah, I mean, I'm learning from this. And it's happened very recently before, and it's more of the same. It's just more of the same. I have to be more scrutinous with things. Even though I'm already the most scrutinizing person I know, I still need to be even better, because apparently, yeah, I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. I have to live with that. And I think it's important for me to transcend this hiccup I have, where it's okay for me to try to optimize. It's okay for me to try to plan, but I have to be just that extra 10% more thorough. And I also can't shed a tear when things like this happen. I think it's all important lessons for me that I'm assuming I'm meant to go through in my journey through life. You know, I'm assuming that. So we'll look into it tomorrow, and we'll settle for the 2%, or we'll try to find another site, although I'm not super optimistic about that. And honestly, if we don't get to use the silly $50, then whatever. You know, that's just the kind of mentality I need to have. And this kind of gets me into my next section, because it's interesting. I think it's notable as well that I have felt like I've been in a fairly secular period of my life, where when I was a teenager, I was all spiritual. I was on to religion, spirituality, constantly trying to look into that stuff, philosophy. But the thing is, I was really behind materially. I was really, really behind materially. And that caught up to me because I was just behind. And then honestly, even in a spiritual sense, I don't know. I guess I exposed myself to a good amount of knowledge, but I think it was underwhelming. I think I was underwhelmingly spiritual. But for a period of my life, I really wanted to focus outward. I tried to make friends, because I spent so much time focusing inward. I didn't really socialize that much. I was just trying to learn a lot, and I did learn a lot, but I eventually really got sick of that, and I really wanted friends. I really wanted to be socially outward as opposed to spending all my time with myself. And my first rendition of that was obviously this thing about spreading the knowledge I had gained, spreading my spiritual wisdom, which I just got made fun of for. And then I think I entered a dark ages. I think there was a very long time. It was about 17 to 22. I mean, maybe not that long, but I just was not spiritually in touch, because I was just in a desperate attempt to mold myself to be more of a median, because I wanted to socialize. I wanted to have friends. That was more important to me than the spiritual journey. I guess I dabbled in it, but then I stuck my head back in the sand. But a part of it, I think, is because I never knew. And I think that was something I reminded myself of. I was being spiritual where I had never really known the struggle of friends, my friends were relatively good. I didn't really have any particularly bad experiences growing up. It was always very good. And so most people turn to spirituality after a pain they go through. And I wasn't doing that. I honestly didn't really have any pain at that point. The only pain I had was depression. And I'm not sure why it was the case. I was 14. And I just really was not happy or doing well. I guess it could have had to do with friends, but I don't know. I felt lazy. I felt overwhelmed. I didn't want to do schoolwork. I guess usual teenager things, but I was just struggling through that period. Like, I really just did not want to work. I was really lazy. So I got hit really hard with the flaws of adolescence. I think a lot more so than most people. It really hit me. Again, the laziness, the obnoxiousness, all that stuff hit me really hard. And I was just depressed. I was anxious. And so I had this awakening where I wanted to get out of that. But I kind of am, when I'm realizing it now, it was all very internal. You know, I don't know that anything was really happening that validated the way I was feeling. I had terrible acne at the time, so I was self-conscious of that. Especially at that age, that was a painful thing to go through. I think that caused me to turn more towards spirituality. But the whole point is I never really went through pain. I never went through heartbreak. I'd never even been in a relationship. I just hadn't gone through much. I hadn't experienced much. I still think I haven't really experienced that much. To tell you the truth, I feel like I've experienced the bare minimum. But I'm at a point where I think I've learned a lot. And I think I'm at a stage now where it's like, I get it. I don't know. I think I get it now. I've really been through a lot with people these past couple years. All kinds of people. Relationships, friendships. Really been through a lot. And I've been hurt. A lot of people have hurt me. A lot of people have let me down. And it's kind of been a rough time. And I think part of that was reaching the breaking point. And even discovering this show, Car Rides with Schla. That was a part of it. If it wasn't for the mistreatment, I would not be making this show right now. I would just be a pretty normal person with happy friends. I know that's what I would be. I'd be just a totally normal guy. I would have never been recording. I would have never really done any of this stuff. That's what I would have been putting my energy towards. So I think there was a fate to the way things happened. Even though it was painful, even though I didn't think it makes any sense, even now it still kind of doesn't make a lot of sense. There was a fate to it. I think it was part of the plan. Because I'm still trusting that I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be doing this. It could all just be cope. It could just all be a breakdown I had. But I'm just happy to be doing something tangible, I guess. And it's something that I don't feel that way about it. I don't feel like this is a breakdown. I think if it was, it wouldn't have lasted as long as it did. And that's an experience where it's only because of people's negativity that I've came to. And then what I want to get at is now I feel like I'm at a place in my life where I could easily return to spirituality big time. I have a stable job. My life's kind of more figured out. Way different place than I was before. And so I want to revisit a lot of that stuff, a lot of these deep spiritual and philosophical conundrums and ideas. I think it's a part of who I'm meant to be. And I'll continue to look into it. I'm not certain, because again, I feel like I was dealing with a lot of deep spiritual things, and then I got out of them. And now I feel like I just had to focus more on secular stuff because that area of my life was so lacking. You know, I didn't have a stable job. I didn't really know about much, and I still want to grow. I want to grow in all areas, the secular and spiritual. But I think there could be a merit to the way I interpret things because, and I think I've said this before, actually maybe I haven't on the show, a lot of people who are spiritual are just kind of odd. They're a little bit crazy. And that's not good. I think it causes there to be a lot of pseudo spiritual people, false prophets, people just kind of spewing nonsense that isn't really based on anything. And I think my approach will hopefully cut through a lot of that. That's what my hope is. That's what my intention is with all this. And it's hard because we live in an era of liars, and I'm probably not going to be able to get as famous as some people because you have to lie in order to get famous. But I do think looking into a lot of this stuff is going to be incredibly important. And it could be part of what I'm meant to do. I mean, language. Super important. When it comes to interpreting spiritual and religious text. And I obviously have a depth of character, a depth of personality for it. So it seems, I think it's time. I think it's very much time for me to revisit a lot of these things and try to figure them out, all that good stuff. I think it's time. And I'm feeling called. It's going to be difficult to talk about, I suppose. It's not going to be easy for me to just get into. But I think in time, I'll warm myself back up. Because I think it's pretty important, I don't know, the higher things. And I think it could be a main area that I'm supposed to excel in. If there's any area, it's got to be that. And so I have to cultivate my brain and that muscle. Because I was just talking about how I'm smart, but I feel like I never was really able to be anything. I'm not some computer genius. I'm not some music prodigy. I'm not some math nerd. I'm not even a language nerd, you know? But if there's one thing I am, it's knowing about systems and politics and political systems maybe and the effects of them and whatnot. I think I can understand both sides of political arguments a lot better than most people because I've just spent so much time delving into that. And I think that is sort of the secular side of things. And then when it comes to beliefs and culture, it's just a whole other thing that I could get into, and that is very system-based and kind of big comprehension. And I really do. I think that could be one of my main things. And this is a long journey because I'm so young, and I don't want to act like I'm a teacher. But I guess that's what I'm going to do. I mean, I don't want to act authoritative or that I'm teaching things. I want to learn and talk about the things I'm learning about. And I hope that while sometimes I guess I do come across authoritative on this show, because there are certain things I think I'm right about, and I will authoritate. There's a lot of times I'm just talking, and this is a platform for me to just gather my thoughts and figure things out. It's not meant to be, oh, I know all this stuff. I know what's up, because I don't know what's up. You know what I'm saying? So that's where we're at. That's absolutely what I'm trying to think about, and I don't know when these changes are going to happen, but I want to get into reading a lot of these deeper mystical texts, mysterious mystical texts, and expanding upon some of these deep secrets. And I don't know. I think there's just so much to get into with that. I already have to some extent. A little bit. I've gotten into depth in terms of some philosophical conundrums when we talk about the politics. It's so weird, though. I hope tomorrow morning I actually have lots of content, because I feel good now, and you noticed that. I think this episode was okay. I don't know why. It's been multiple days. I am so dead in the morning. I'm a morning person. I am. I love mornings, and I don't know what is going on. I don't know what's gotten into me recently, because I just didn't even feel like doing the show this morning. Now I feel completely fine. But I am a morning person. I don't let this random few days fool you. Or even this show. I guess it is just as simple as when you just wake up, you just start today, you're going to work. It's hard, you know? I mean, the mornings I don't have work, I'm very happy. You know what I mean? You guys don't see that because I don't do car rides with Schla, obviously, on Saturday morning. But I am. I am a morning person. I just think that is a huge component. I do. I truly think that it just makes that much of a difference. Just having to work versus not having to work, and what that does to your mood. It's special. Saturday morning is always special. And mornings when I don't have to work are special. But that's about it. I don't know what else I have to... No, I'm joking. I even think, though, in general, that's probably been the case. I know when I first started the series, I actually liked the morning ones more. Or I thought the morning ones were better. But now I don't think that's the case. I think the late ones are better. It's just weird how that happens. I don't know. It's so strange. It's just so strange. But yeah, that's about it. I think that's about it. That's what's been on my mind. But I'm definitely a bit rusty. And that's okay too. I'm a bit rusty with the spiritual things. But it's a journey. I mean, it's a lifelong journey. And I just can't imagine where I would be if I had just held on to that. Oh, I didn't even get to say what I wanted to say. I also think I'm supposed to just be introspective. I don't really think I was meant to be in the spotlight. I think that was a pretty big thing. So in addition to making content, needing to be alone for that, I also think I was just meant to be alone. I do think I was meant to study a lot of these things. Because it takes isolation. I mean, you can't be very spiritual if you're constantly around people, especially just regular people. It's very hard to get into more esoteric conversations and thoughts. I mean, I guess it depends. I mean, if you were around a lot of esoteric people, it might further it, but solid alone time is always important. It's just always important, I think, for development. And so it gets to the point where I'm just going to work with the cards I got. I see it as that way more. And we'll see. I mean, I could shift kind of my trajectory or judgment if I kind of feel like, no, maybe that's not healthy, or no, maybe that doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I don't know. But we'll figure it out day by day, piece by piece, you know. I'm trying my best. I think I'm trying my best. I'm not certain. I'm not certain. But I think I'm trying. I mean, is anybody ever really trying their best? Probably not. There's probably very few people who actually try their best. So I still have a ways to go, I think. But we're getting there. Like I said, piece by piece, brick by brick. It's been Schla, but now it's time to buy Schla. So, see you, Schla.